It's that time of year again, the Steam Summer Sale. And look, I can make a fancy intro about how this channel focuses on small to mid-level titles, and how I went through hundreds of games that I own to give you a bunch of overlooked deals that you may have missed. But nah, I'd rather just get right to it. These are 10 Steam Summer deals that focus on action. Expect some more recommendations that focus on other strengths later in the week. First up is the Bug Butcher. Coming from the Super Pang genre, the Bug Butcher is an exercise in twitch action reflexes and a focus on simplicity. With the ability to only shoot up, you run around and juggle your enemies with your bullets, while avoiding damage that will reset your combo meter. The controls work perfectly for the gameplay in question, rewarding precision and quick reactions, while punishing reckless and thoughtless movement. Clean visuals keep things easy to see and lets you focus on enemies. And with a lack of loading times and 60 frames per second, you're able to get right back in the action when you die, and keep that action up with the crisp animations. It's one of those games that felt like a good bang for buck at its full price point, but with it now 50% off, it's a great time to take up a programmer's nightmare and fight hundreds and hundreds of bugs at one time. The next game up is Dark Mouse. Sometimes games have appropriate titles, and Dark Mouse is definitely one of them. It takes heavy influence from the Dark Souls series while still creating something new. Dark Mouse focuses on strategic positioning and combat in a 2D top-down perspective. The precision of the combat engine is what shines here. If your shield isn't in the right place when guarding, you will get hit, no question. And that precision allows for some really fun and in-depth combat. You'll need to lure enemies into hallways to get an advantage, or switch up your weaponry to give you a little extra reach against another. With good boss battles and smart level design, the game was definitely worth its original price tag. And now that it's 50% off, Dark Souls players looking for their next fix would be wise to scurry on over to Dark Mouse. Third on the list is Not a Hero. You know a game has done something right when an RPG, adventure, and strategy-focused gamer finds the time to enjoy and appreciate a game like Not a Hero. I'll link Don Parsons' TechRaptor review in the description below. In short, however, it's a side-scrolling action shooter which focuses on quick gameplay, along with level and objective variety. You'll move at a frantic pace as you try to take down enemies one by one, with a variety of different abilities and special weapons. Dashing in to execute enemies is always satisfying, and it's complemented by a good overall political and social commentary. It's your typical Devolver Digital published title, something different, highly stylized, and has good bang for buck in terms of gameplay. And it will give you a challenge as well, especially in the later levels. At 75% off, action gamers would be amiss to avoid it. Number 4 is Ghost 1.0. Seeing this on sale really surprised me, considering that it came out on June 7th of this year. In fact, I'd argue that the developer doesn't have the confidence in his game as he should, with its discount being 50% off already. Ghost 1.0 is a Metroidvania game that understands what its genre fans want: good shooting action, a nice collection of secrets, and some fun exploration along the way. It's filled to the brim with retro video game and 80s sci-fi references, and tells a surprisingly deep story that doesn't overshadow the gameplay. The game had a good variety of secondary weapons that change things up, and does a great job in terms of pacing. It keeps a new mechanic around long enough to get a bunch of fun out of it, but not oversaturating the game by keeping it around for too long. Well put together from start to finish, you should know the creator from the hit indie title Unepic, but hopefully he gets recognized for Ghost 1.0 as well. It's most definitely worth your time and money. The fifth one up is Victor Vaughn. You know what's nice? When a game is able to understand some basics about the genre, but then twist them a little bit to offer a different experience that's still familiar, but different at the same time. That's basically what Victor Vaughn is in the Diablo clone genre. with your character's skills being based on your specialized weapons and equipment. Each fight in hard mode forces you to change up your strategy entirely, while giving a bunch of fun while doing it. The different objectives per level provide some unique elements to them, like avoiding damage entirely from a set of monsters, or killing enemies with a specific skill. While I would have liked more enemy variety in the long run, combat is challenging, and several of the bosses serve as great peaks to the action. It's a game that's great at the 75% discount, being familiar enough to give those Diablo fanatics out there a fix, but experimental enough so that it's worth a try for those who want something different in the genre. It's one of those games that is great to play with a friend as well. Alright, number 6, Roche Fusion. Roche Fusion is one of those games that I think turns people off with its initial price point of $13. It's an arcade shoot 'em up that's not one of the classics. But at 75% off, it's really hard not to recommend the action here. A good variety of weapons, enemies, and power-ups can keep things fresh for several hours, while providing enough repetition for those score chasers out there to perfect their runs. You've got several ships that play reasonably different, focusing on power or for speed. It's done in a squashed playing field that actually gives you a lot of room to work with, while still keeping you afraid for your life. In addition, it includes a great option selection for those who need to adjust the visual elements for accessibility as well. It's one of those games that don't have the flash to get people to buy it off the trailer alone. But rest assured, you got a great shmup experience hidden in Roche Fusion. My 7th recommendation is Volgarr the Viking. Remember NES Horde? Remember Ghosts and Goblins? Volgarr the Viking is the indie equivalent of it. Not only is it ridiculously hard, but it's also a bunch of simple platforming and action fun. A great set of controls help to complement the precision gameplay here, as you'll make slow and steady progress as you react to enemies who will surprise you if you recklessly run forward. Pattern memorization is key here, as the game does a great job of switching up its enemy placement and patterns on you, and forcing you to try again as you try to just get a little bit further this time. It's not for those looking for a walk in the park. It took me over 2 hours to get to the first checkpoint. And for a 75% off price tag, you will get a game that will challenge you and yet never feels unfair. And hell, we need more difficult games in our lives. That's for sure. Number 8 is Titan Souls. 2D Shadow of the Colossus Light. That's basically what Titan Souls is. It's basically a boss rush mode, and while that may not have enticed people at the full $15 price tag, it's now 75% off. There's no reason not to pick it up and try it at this point. The combat relies on your one singular arrow, and the ability to summon it from afar, as you try to figure out this boss's weak point. Each boss fight is unique and challenges you in a different way, never feeling repetitive at any point. The controls and mechanics are simple, but it allows for the KISS principle to shine through because of it. It's all complemented by a wonderful aesthetic and a great soundtrack to keep the fight intensity up. It's a game that was riddled in controversy due to a developer comment when it first launched. But it's a game that really is a fun experience at its core, and deserves a playthrough or two. With 2 more to go, it's Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds. Sometimes you need to just beat the crap out of things, and luckily, Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds has got you covered at 50% off. It's a mix-up of the old beat-em-up style with a little bit of fighting combo mechanics to spice things up. And what's great about it is one simple concept, easy to play and hard to master. A new player into the genre can play on the normal difficulty and just have a good laid-back time, while an experienced player can really take advantage of the juggling and block mechanics to get them through those tough fights. It's got several layers of strategy regarding spatial control, counters, and positioning regarding its 2-plane fighting field. It's a great local co-op game to play with family and friends, and a good stress reliever after a hard day at the office. Now, if you're really patient, you could possibly pick it up for cheaper than 50% off. But at $6, it's still a strong return on bang for buck. Last but not least, it's Stardust Galaxy Warriors. Look, you fight a giant disco ball that shoots lasers. Do I really need to give any other reason? While yes, it's a smaller discount at 40% off, Stardust Galaxy Warriors is the perfect local co-op game to play with family and friends. The controls are solid, and the enemy variety is strong. It focuses on segments of action, throwing the kitchen sink at you, letting you rest, and then throwing the next set of kitchen appliances at you. It's another arcade experience with a really nice art style that complements the gameplay here. It's got reasonable customization with its primary and secondary weapon choices, and the developers obviously care for their product, as one Steam review revealed that they coded up an entirely new control scheme for a player who requested it. Oh, and a fantastic soundtrack to boot. Just don't expect anything other than a cheesy yet hilarious storyline. And that's it for the indie action recommendations. The next list is targeted for Thursday and will focus on roguelike games to look at. But if you got any action indie games to recommend yourself, leave them in the comments section below. Now to get back to my Zero Time Dilemma review that comes out on Wednesday. Thanks for watching. Like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe if you want more content like this. In the description below, you'll find the Steam review accompanying this vid, along with social media that you can follow me on, Twitter, Google+, and Facebook groups. And if you want to support the channel, click that Patreon on the left of the screen. And remember, keep on gaming.